Well, we've now had two task forces that have looked at governance, and we felt that we needed to make some changes to better align the ATS's structure with achieving our function. In other words, achieving our strategic goals. We realized when we worked with our consultants and the American Society of Association Executives that our board is very large, 26 members plus the CEO. And the general trend in best practices for high functioning organizations is to have a smaller board that serves for a longer period of time, and this provides better continuity. And we'll also be shifting from a board that's largely representative, in other words, made up by the assembly chairs and some of the committee chairs, to a board that's selected based on their competencies. So one of the goals of the new board nominating committee will be to select a slate of board members who are chosen for their competency to help the ATS achieve its strategic goals in a more nimble fashion. We also wanted to make sure that the assembly chairs and the committee chairs were not losing their voice in how ATS runs and our direction. And Lynn has been chairing that group, which will create a new council she can tell you about to make sure that everyone has a seat at the table and everyone's voice is heard.
Yeah, so while we recognize that the board of directors was too large, ironically, at the same time, it didn't have all of the voices of our members, particularly our committee chairs. And so we're forming a new council of the ATS that will include all of the assembly chairs, all of the committee chairs. Will also include the head of the Public Advisory Roundtable and the chair of the Council of Chapter Representatives. And in order to ensure that the council has a finger on the pulse of what's happening on the board of directors, the ATS secretary will also be a member of the council, and the council leader, conversely, will be part of the board of directors. And so the council of the ATS is meant to be that central place that will be able to be a liaison with the board of directors and back and forth with the board of directors, as well as the hub for members to get information via the assembly chairs and the committee chairs. Finally, it's also meant to be a forum for committee chairs and assembly chairs to learn from each other and share their own best practices and talk about what initiatives the different forums, the different settings are undertaking. With the changes, the membership actually will have a say and be able to have input on all of the different positions, whereas previously there were only limited opportunities for the membership to have a say. So now the membership will be able to approve the slate for the nominating committee, for the board of directors, for the EC, which has not happened before.
Yes, I agree with Lynn. I think this will result in a process that's more rather than less transparent. I think putting forward a slate of board members will result in greater rather than less diversity, and I'm incredibly proud of the diversity and inclusion that the ATS has achieved to date, but this should allow us to take it to the next level. As we've learned from our consultants and a large amount of literature and data from the American Society of Association Executives, the general rule or the preferred practice now in membership organizations is to put forward a slate. This keeps more people in the process. It avoids the downside, which is having a loser of an election, which is not preferable for anyone. And I think what we've seen over time with ATS is that the people who are not successful in the election process tend to drift away from the society, taking with them all of their incredible leadership skills and their institutional knowledge of ATS. All that being said, it's also important to note that the new process will include an objection. In other words, if a significant number of the memberships feels that the slate as presented for a vote is either not competent, has the wrong competencies, or is not sufficiently diverse, there will be a reevaluation of this process. And that will happen by a petition that originates with the members. So again, this is more membership involvement rather than less membership involvement in how the society is governed.
We're going to be rolling out the beta version of the Council of ATS starting in September. I actually will be leading the council for the first year to kick it off and then handing it over to the successor after that.
And similarly, we'll see a change from the current nominating committee, whose main charge now is to name a candidate for ATS secretary and for the treasurer-elect. We'll see that change into a board nominating committee that fulfills those two functions, but also puts forward a slate of competency-based directors. And our current intention is that we will move to the new board of directors in 2025. This was the strong consensus among current leaders, the current executive committee, the current board, the current committee chairs, that we move rapidly towards this change rather than doing it in a piecemeal or a gradual function. And this should include or achieve equity moreover, because we'll be making a change that gets us where we need to go.
So that means this year was the last year that we will hold an election for secretary of ATS. Next year, the membership will be presented with a slate for the board of directors and for the new secretary of ATS. I would just add that this is a work in progress. We're going to be continuously evaluating the impact of the changes, and the goal is to make tweaks and update as needed. We're not going to get it perfect the first time, and we recognize that. And the key is to be open for changes, to reevaluate, and to move the whole organization forward.